The war with Japan had several memorable turning points, all directly affecting the final outcome. In the struggle for the Marianas in the summer of 1944, the enemy's leaders realized that if U.S. forces were successful at Saipan, Japan could prepare itself for eventual defeat. In Hawaii, the troops scheduled to see action in the Marianas prepared to embark on the journey to the target. General Ralph Smith commanded the Army's 27th Division, one of the 3 divisions earmarked for the campaign on Saipan. During the last days of May 1944, the men became part of the northern troops and landing force assigned to the Saipan operation. By the 1st of June, the last elements of the divisions which would oppose the enemy on Saipan were aboard ship, and Operation Forager was begun. D-Day morning, June 15th, was bright, clear, and hot. U.S. planes continued to work over the target in the teeth of enemy flak. From all appearances, the battle ahead looked like a tough one. At dawn, the warships provided a staccato introduction to the invasion. The Navy had a wide range of targets to concentrate on. The naval guns worked overtime. Now and then they had to be cooled off before going back into action. With each hour less than an hour away, the assault force of Marines who were to carve out the beachhead on Saipan prepared for one more landing against a carefully entrenched enemy. By June 18th, a sizable area had been seized by the assault Marines of the 2nd and 4th Divisions, assisted, beginning on the second day, by GIs of the Army's 27th Division. After Aslito Field had been taken by the soldiers, land-based planes in considerable numbers could be used in support of the drive north on the island. Divisions, 2 Marine, 1 Army, worked abreast up the island. But the fight to gain control of the southern sector of Saipan had taken its toll of assault troops. During the first week of the campaign, the U.S. invasion force suffered some 6,000 casualties in the campaign to gain control of this valuable cornerstone of the enemy's defense perimeter. In the battle off the Marianas, the enemy not only failed in its intended purpose, but suffered one of the most humiliating defeats it had ever experienced. Thousands of Chamorros, whose homes had been demolished, walked into the American lines at the first opportunity. U.S. fighting men made certain that the natives were out of harm's way. Many Chamorros had been hiding in caves for more than a week with little food and water. Some were on the edge of starvation when they came into American hands. Some Chamorros, no one knows how many, were killed in the violent battle for their island home. The natives of Saipan would not soon forget the summer of 1944. In the closing days of the battle, the number of enemy prisoners was swelled to more than 1,000. But for every Japanese soldier who surrendered, there were many more who refused to give up. Some of the natives chose suicide. On July 9th, the U.S. controlled all of Saipan. On the southern tip of the island, U.S. artillery pounded Tinian, 3 miles distant. After 2 weeks' breather, the 2 Marine divisions assaulted Tinian. The 2nd Marine Division, in an effective feint, drew the enemy's attention to the southern beaches, while 4th Division Marines went ashore to the north and drove down the island against scattered resistance. Back from their fake landing, 2nd Division Marines followed the 4th Division Marines ashore on the northwest coast. The carefully executed diversionary movement had succeeded in fooling the enemy and throwing his defensive forces off balance. The 2nd Division Marines also landed against little or no opposition. Tinian has been termed by some military historians the perfect operation. On Guam, as at Saipan and Tinian, the battle for the island was concluded with a familiar ceremony. On all 3 islands in the Marianas, some 5,000 Marines and soldiers lost their lives in the campaign designed to hasten materially the end of the war with Japan. But for these thousands, the war was already at an end. With the major islands in the strategically important Marianas in U.S. possession, the high brass charged with directing the conduct of the Pacific War moved into the area to prepare for the knockout blows against Japan itself. And the most important items in the planning for the delivery of those knockout blows were the Marianas airstrips. On every newly won island in the Pacific, readying the airstrip was always a top priority assignment. But in the Marianas, that job had a special urgency. For from the improved airfields on Saipan, Tinian, and Guam, America's new super fortresses, the powerful B-29s, would soon take off on missions against the enemy's home islands.
But the same day that the Allied powers delivered their ultimatum, the first atomic bomb aboard the United States cruiser Indianapolis arrived at a tiny island in the Pacific called Tinian, chosen as the atom bomber's base because of its proximity to Japan. On August 2nd, orders went out for the first atomic attack in history. The date was set for August 6th. But such was the secrecy and security of the project that not even the officer in charge of assigning code names knew what the code name was for. The Enola Gay secret remained. At 1:37 a.m. on August 6th, 3 weather planes took off from Tinian to take station over Hiroshima, Kokura, and Nagasaki, the primary, secondary, and tertiary targets. At 2:45 a.m., Major Tibbets took off in the Enola Gay, climbing to make his bomb run from 30,000 feet. flush to Enola Gay, straight flush to Enola Gay. These are my readings. Height, approximately 32,000 feet. Course, 265 degrees magnetic. Airspeed, 250 knots. Drift, 2 degrees starboard. Am approaching target area. Cloud cover, less than 3/10 at all altitudes. Immediate target area, clear. Straight flush to Enola Gay, straight flush to Enola Gay. Advice. Bomb, primary target. Enola Gay to straight flush, Enola Gay to straight flush. Message received, understood. Over and out. It's Hiroshima. This is Hiroshima. The day, August 6th, 1945. The time, a little after 7 a.m. At this time, is a strangely peaceful city, almost untouched by the ravages of war. In 3.5 years, it has felt the concussion of no more than a dozen bombs. It's also a beautiful city, renowned for the exceptionally beautiful willow trees. To the 250,000 population of Hiroshima, this day began no differently from any other. At 7:09 a.m., the air alert sounded, but this was a common enough occurrence. Usually, it was just a precaution against the Allied aircraft flying over on a mission to bomb some other town, or perhaps denoting the presence of Allied weather reconnaissance planes. They also were common enough. But on this particular day, things were different. The aircraft overhead was a weather reconnaissance plane, but it was studying conditions over Hiroshima itself. That aircraft was a United States B-29, whimsically nicknamed Straight Flush, and piloted by Major Claude Etherly. Simultaneously that morning, other aircraft were studying conditions over the cities of Kokura and Nagasaki. But it was over Hiroshima that conditions were most favorable for an attack that had to be carried out with full observation. For this was no ordinary bombing mission. This was the opening of a new chapter in history, or a Straight Flush flew twice across the city and then headed out to sea. Another B-29, the Enola Gay, piloted by Major Paul Tibbets, was already in the air, just 1 hour's flying time away. It carried the world's first atomic bomb, a bomb that killed outright some 72,000 inhabitants of this city, a bomb whose aftermath rocked the entire world and changed the face of history. This, then, was the city of Hiroshima, and this, the day, August 6, 1945. At 7:31 a.m., the all-clear sounded. The lone B-29 reconnaissance plane disappeared seawards. At about 8 o'clock, people were getting ready for work. A few minutes later, at about 8:09 a.m., Major Tibbets, piloting the Enola Gay, carrying the atom bomb, was about to start his bomb run. Simultaneously, the sick were being attended to in the city's Red Cross Hospital. At 8:13 a.m., Major Tibbets handed over the control of his aircraft to Tom Farabee, his bombardier. At 8:14 a.m., a soldier at the Nakamo Searchlight Battery reported picking up the noise of aircraft engines. Unidentified planes were coming from Saijo, about 15 miles east of Hiroshima, and were heading towards the city. The anti-aircraft gunners on Mukeshima Island in Hiroshima Harbor could now see 2 planes approaching the eastern edge of the city. At 8:15 plus 17 seconds, the 2 aircraft suddenly parted, making tight diving turns in opposite directions. At precisely that moment, the bomb bay doors of the Enola Gay sprang open from a press signal on the bomb panel, and the long shape of the bomb tumbled out and nosed towards the earth. The aircraft made a sharp 60-degree bank and a 158-degree turn to get clear of the blast. Already, the city of Hiroshima was in its death throes. It had just 43 seconds to live. Pearl Harbor, Iwo Jima, Guadalcanal, New Guinea. All this was about to be avenged. 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. fraction of a second, the explosion of the bomb became a ball of fire 1,800 feet across, with a temperature at its center of 100 million degrees. This was the bomb that killed outright some 72,000 people, many of them innocent inhabitants, far remote from the decisions which led to the Holocaust, in which they were suddenly burned alive. This was the bomb that many had said should never have been dropped, and many have said so since. This was the bomb, nevertheless, that foreshortened the war and prevented the further killing of hundreds of thousands. This was the bomb that showed mankind the awful truth of a weapon to end all weapons, a weapon that could perhaps end mankind itself.
This is 0 Point on Hiroshima, the exact spot above the city at which the bomb burst over enemy territory, at the junction of the Matoyusu and Oto rivers. The atomic bomb was intentionally exploded well above its target in order to dissipate its radioactive material. The devastation you see here was caused by the explosion of the bomb above this 0 Point. Only the strongest buildings are left standing, and they are gutted. Looking north from 0 Point, this is what was left. Looking east, the camera records a scene of complete devastation in the immediate area. To the south, these are the ruins. Looking west from 0 Point, the same complete leveling is evident, the same inability of structures to withstand atomic power. Just 1/10 of a mile from 0 Point, the effect of the bomb blast can be seen on these stripped and broken trees and on this Russian-Japanese war memorial. Lines were literally blasted into the stone of the memorial. Here, looking west from the Sanwa building, the side of a concrete smokestack nearest the blast has been discolored. The Hiroshima Gas Company building on the right in this picture has been almost completely demolished by the force of the explosion from above, as though struck by a giant sledgehammer. The reinforced concrete Sanwa Bank building was wrecked even more completely. These twisted steel beams once supported the roof. The direction of the bomb blast can be seen clearly in these scenes of the concrete parapet wall extending above the bank building's roof. Two-tenths of a mile from 0 Point was a Shinto shrine. Here, too, the blast stripped the trees and collapsed stonework. Originally, the base of this statue was polished granite, but now the stone is roughened by the force of the blast, which completely removed the polish. The lighter surfaces, which are being pointed out, indicate the angle of the bomb blast as though painted on the surface. The nearby lamppost shows flash burns on the side facing the blast. The Commercial Museum was also within 2/10 of a mile of 0 Point, and the garden wall facing the blast was bent inward by the push of the explosion.
Hiroshima and subsequently Nagasaki precipitated the Japanese surrender, which was finally made on August the 14th. World War II was at an end. Aboard the U.S. battleship Missouri, anchored in Tokyo Bay, General MacArthur and Admiral Nimitz received the official surrender from Japanese Foreign Minister Shigemitsu, accompanied by his Chief of Staff, Umezu. Here were General MacArthur's words calling upon the Jap nation to unconditionally lay down their arms.
I now invite the representatives of the Emperor of Japan and the Japanese government and the Japanese Imperial General Headquarters to sign the instrument of surrender at the places indicated.